All right, bruh fans, another good episode. I'm debating what to score it. This was season 4, episode 7, The Art of Retrieval. Good setup for episode 8. Definitely was great setup for episode 8. I'll I'll give it a 6, but it's more like if I wanted to give it like a, decimal score, I give it like a 6.7 or something, so you can round it up to 7 if you want, but I'll stick with a 6. This episode pretty cut and dry. Like I said, these episodes do a great job as complementary pieces to the very next episode. And also, don't forget, there is only 1 week left. Next week will be the final 2 episodes of season 4, and I do hope that these episodes maintain the level of quality as the previous 8 because I have been very pleased with what we received this season. So, let's jump in. Now, the social worker we've met, I believe the week before, we met her a couple episodes ago, all right? She was talking with Tom. And I believe she stated that she had a case across town and she would come back to the hospital to talk with Claudia. And, she basically describes a program that she could help Claudia disappear into. Basically, hey, we can get you into like protective housing. And then from there, hide you. That way, your abusive husband won't be able to find you and you'll be safe. But Claudia is scared to death, and rightfully so, given the fact that, she knows how ruthless her husband is, but at the same time, she can't be certain as to whether or not, hey, okay, Miss Social Worker, you seem like you are a nice person, but for all I know, there could be people in your organization on Jack's payroll, and you get me out of here, you put me in custody, but the next thing you know, I get popped off by somebody because I made the foolish decision to trust them, thinking they were on your team when in actuality they were on Jack's team. So from there we go over to Bill, who invites Regina and Miss Hilda. I didn't expect her to be in the season, but Regina's mom did return. Essentially, Bill wants to have a sit down with the both of them to, reassure them like, hey, you understandably have no reason to trust me fully. And it's going to take a lot of work in order to, it's going to take a lot of work in order for you to even give me even a little bit of trust, and I'll do whatever it takes to slowly build it up. And, Miss Hilda makes a point to say that, she's scared, and for good reason, because she will never forgive. She still hasn't forgiven Bill for ruining Regina's wedding. And then Regina's like, it's going to take a lot to trust you. I'm scared because I sacrificed a lot for you. But here's the thing with that. Bill was foul for ruining the wedding. But at the end of the day, Regina made the choice to be with Bill. She could have gotten married to Peter, but she didn't. Remember that? Because Peter wanted to still get married to Regina, but she was the one that said no, and said she was confused. And then if I remember correctly, at the end of season 1, said she was going to go to like California or something to get some distance between Bill and her and to think things out. And then at the end of the season, Bill was just so annoying because he was determined to go to California to, find Regina or whatever. But essentially, Bill has, hey, in an effort to kind of save money from those expensive cribs, he had 2. And given that he's a contractor and whatnot, it wouldn't surprise me if Bill made those cribs himself, which I don't believe it was stated in the episode, but it would have been a nice touch if it turns out that he built the cribs, which is a fun little twist on the Sistas angle where you have Zach and Aaron putting together cribs. And well, despite being somewhat of a contractor himself and renovating properties, Zach is unable to do what Bill did here, which is annoying, but hey, it is what it is. So from there, we go over to a bar and Pam is on a date. I don't remember if this is the same guy that Greg saw her with in last week's episode, but they're having a good time and her phone is kind of blowing up. And, he kind of is like, hey, if you got to take a call, just go ahead and do it. I'm not insecure like that. It's no problem with me. And plus, I love seeing a woman like you busy, sexy. So Pam steps off to the side, and it's from Mike. And apparently, Pam is still, I guess, playing his anchor, so to speak, so he doesn't relapse, just allowing herself to still get, bombarded with messages and calls and whatnot, because Mike is so needy right now. But he lies saying that, oh, I'm at a restaurant with a client and we're talking about, a nursery and whatnot. And then as soon as she gets off the phone, she goes up to her date and says, oh, it was just a call from a client. So again, I have no idea what Pam is doing. Then we go over to Tom's apartment where he and Dina, remember the, I call her Myra from Family Matters, the nurse from the hospital. Apparently they had a night together, which I believe is follow up from season 3. I think Dina asked Tom for a second chance, and remember she got too drunk with Tom on their first date, and then she was very angry and was hitting on Greg, and he slapped, what was it, a slap or a push, I forgot what he did, and then she wanted to press charges and all, but then Darla came in and was able to determine that, oh yeah, you're drunk and whatnot, so you can get arrested for that. So she stormed out of there. And I still say that Tom made a mistake trying to date her again, and apparently so, because I guess Tom wasn't really looking for a sleepover buddy, more like, a date. We have a little fun. They had sex. Apparently she loved it. She wanted some food. She wanted round 2. She was ready to go all in. And Tom just had to put his foot down, and then she got pissy at him and left. And I always get hooked, stuck with the crazy ones. Well, dang, she showed you who she was during that first date. So I don't know why you opted to, okay, she fine as hell, but I don't know why you opted to go out with her a second time. So then I believe this is the next morning, Greg is doing his thing, and Darla just pops up with some lunch and wants to, talk with him. So they go to one of the break rooms down the hallway, and Greg is not there, so to speak. He's not really giving full answers to her questions. He's on his phone. Basically, it's like, so how's your day going? Oh yeah, pretty busy, a patient down the hall, and this, that, and the third. And she's just trying to have a casual conversation. She goes on to say like, well, yeah, I believe, you said we promised, we go on a date and whatnot. So I figured, here you go. I bring you some lunch. Now, here's my thing with this. I feel like Darla and Greg don't work simply because of the fact that when you look at both characters, neither of them respects the other's boundaries. It's just due to the fact that, Greg, if I remember correctly, the reason he found out she was trans was due to the fact that he kept pushing up on her and touching her, down in the lower portions of her body before she was ready. Because again, if you go back to, when was Darla introduced? Season 2, right? If you go back to like season 2, she would sell him. It's like, look, I'm not trying to rush anything. Let's try to get to know each other. But Greg was like, nah. He would just keep pushing up on her. And then, that's him disrespecting her boundaries. And when it comes to Darla, it's one of those things where Greg is, I guess you could say Greg does like Darla, but he doesn't know how to, I guess he's what's the word I'm looking for? He's uncertain about being with a trans person, I guess is the best way to put it, because this is potentially a realm he has never entered. So, and I'll pick up on this in episode 8 when I do the review for that, but Darla is, the kind of person where it's like she senses Greg being uncomfortable, and either sometimes she catches an attitude about it, or on the flip side, she's like, well, you never know until you try. And it's like, well, let's break it down to the simplicity of this scene. Greg said, I'll take you on a real date. And I feel like he was possibly going to do it. I don't know when, but it seems like he would have. But when it comes to Darla, it's like this was a bit too much in the moment, because wait until you go on a real date, see how it goes, and maybe if you go on 1 or 2 more, then the pop up with the lunch would be more, quote unquote appropriate. But then again, what do I know? I ain't been in the dating world and Lord knows when, so I don't know what the proper etiquette is. Maybe I'm just talking out of my ass here. I wouldn't know. So in any case, when she just gets the vibe that Greg isn't really into what they're doing at the moment, she gets pissed off and leaves. And that's her trademark move. And it wouldn't surprise me if she would just popped up, at his place later that same day acting like nothing happened. And I'm like, okay. So we go over to the sandwich shop briefly, and long story short, Alice, I'm glad the pastor is having a positive impact on her. This is giving Sistas vibes when Karen was changing for the better when she first started dating Aaron. And, Laura tries to flirt with John, and John tries to, pilfer the Blessings Inc. merch to her, but, he doesn't really get anywhere with it. Thankfully, this week, the Blessings stuff took a back seat. So, yeah, it was a good scene. I'm just glad Alice is happy. Then finally, I don't believe this character's ever been named. I just want to call him Jack's henchman. He bumps into Tom in the hallway and it's like, "Oh, hey, I'm new here. I'm kind of lost. Can you tell me where the ICU is?" And do you have any kids? I'm just thinking, like, isn't that like a red flag, Tom? Like, why would this dude ask you that kind of question? And it's like, "What's your name again?" Dr. Tom Brooks. Oh, okay, cool. So he gets on the phone and confirms that Tom is the person that, is probably talking to Claudia. And then from there, he talks briefly to the officer outside of Claudia's room. And it's like, "Hey, man, could you tell me?" And then the old woman passes down on the floor. The cop and several other people rush over to the woman. Then the henchman looks around and then goes into Claudia's room. And that's about it. So, yeah, pretty good episode. Dina's still fine as hell. The Darla and Greg thing is still going back and forth. Like I said, I really don't know what to make of that storyline. It seems like it's the same old, same old. Yeah, pretty good episode. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Like and subscribe, and I will catch you in the next video.